Workflow Part 2. Today we're restoring and colorizing an old damaged photo. We're taking it from this to this. Here's my workflow. Luckily, the damage to this photo is pretty minimal. We don't have to recreate any major parts of the photo, which is often the case. We only have some scratches, creases, and some sun damage to deal with. So we're gonna go around and start getting rid of those using the clone stamp and spot healing brush tool. One thing to look out for, especially with the more damaged areas, is to make sure not to alter parts that are meant to be in the image. Sometimes it can be hard to tell the difference between an imperfection and a detail. That goes for photos and for life. Ooh, that's a free gem. Free gems, I'm just handing them out. Alright, since we're gonna be coloring this one, the last thing we're gonna do is take out that sepia tone and convert it to grayscale. And that gives us our base to start colorizing the image. We did get some general info from the client to help us with the colorization. They said the woman had a light brown complexion, the garments she was wearing were black, and they told us the color of the jewelry. That gave us everything we need to start applying our base layer of color. A little more background behind this photo. It was the client's only photo of their grandmother who had passed and who a lot of their family have never met. Situations like that are what make projects like this really satisfying for me, not only creatively but also spiritually. Digging through the sands of time and preserving the only memory a person leaves behind for future generations is an incredible feeling. So after applying our base layer, you can see still looks pretty artificial, and that's because very few natural things are really just one color. We need to blend in some shadows, highlights, and a little accent of other colors to make it look real. So I'm using a hue saturation adjustment layer to recreate the effect of a shadow on each of our base colors. Then I start painting in where they would be. I do this a couple more times with different variations of the colors to emphasize the darker shadows and to contrast it with the lighter shadows. This also helps fill in and emphasize some outlines on her face. Next, we repeat that process for the midtones and the highlights. Exact same thing. Then I'm adding in different accent colors to the lighter parts of her face to blend in some of the midtones. It's important to note that unlike human skin, fabric and materials do come pretty close to being one color because they were designed that way. With man-made objects, the changes in color are produced only by the lighting interacting with the object, not by natural color changes in the object itself, except in the case of really old objects, but that's a different story. With that being said, we're not going to color the material and fabric the way we color human skin. We'll only need to add in shadows and highlights to match the lighting in the scene, but we're pretty much sticking to the one base color. Lastly, I'm just doing some exposure and color correction over the entire image to make sure everything blends well together. Play around with the curves adjustment, and here's the final result. Hopefully we did her family some justice, and it'll help keep her memory alive for many more generations to come. If you know a better way to do what I did, let me know. What's your workflow?